I have changed my perception about Julius Malema again after his pre-trial sentencing in East London.
Tired. No one can make me tired. I march forward to the victory of our people. The revolution in South Africa is guaranteed.
In fact, for once, I thought that South Africans have rejected the EFF and gone for Operation Ndudula and March for March, because I barely hear of Operation Ndudula, and now I can see that Operation Ndudula is commanding the numbers, and that South Africans are now following the ideals of Operation Ndudula. But now I'm having a consideration, because during the pre-sentencing hearing of Julius Malema, members of the EFF and the general public painted the entire street of East London red. As ordinary members and public officials of the party went out in their numbers to show support for their leader, Julius Malema. After he was found guilty in last year's firearm discharge case.
If you've enjoyed this video so far, please do me a huge favor and hit the like button and subscribe. These videos take quite a long time to make, so if you could help me out, I'll love you forever. Thank you all for your support. Now let's get back to this crazy story.
Now, this is the penultimate number, and it's number 2. At number 2, I present to you Kweku Afrique. Wow! This guy has a thunderous voice. Like, when he speaks, you wanna listen. I've been able to watch a couple of his videos, and I sincerely will tell you that he makes great impression in whatever content he's going to present. Thank you so much, Mr. Kweku. Keep up the good work.
So it all started like this. In fact, the court had to go for a bigger courtroom because the officials and the entourage who were going to be present were super huge, and they could not contain him in that very court. And so they selected the East London Regional Court for the pre-sentencing hearing in East London. Now, when the show started, in fact, before the day, members of EFF held a memorial, had a vigil tonight, played music upon music, jammed and chanted till the very day. In fact, a lot of people were bussed to the venue. So Julius Malema was escorted into the court by the Moshabi tribe, and that itself was another drama on its own, as people clapped and cheered in the courtroom and outside the courtroom for Julius Malema. Now, when they entered, singing and clapping all started. And then the pre-sentencing hearing actually started.
We proceed. Sorry?
Please proceed.
All right, I want to make it absolutely clear that since I've been moved from my court and my chambers to this court, I cannot carry all the documents that may be needed. I do not know what the defense intends leading or asking me to rule on, or so I cannot entertain any complaints if I should adjourn to fetch any document or anything that I may need, because I am not in my own chambers.
Now, don't forget that this is the meeting where both sides come to debate and argue about the sentencing for Julius Malema. And so, because he's already been found guilty for firing a rifle in public in way back 2018. Now, in the argument, Malema's legal team argued that Malema is a public person and he's a law-abiding citizen, and that the judge should only give him a fine. They should not throw him into prison, which means that he stays free unless he breaks the law again. Now, they brought in a social worker who testified that Malema was a very good person, and this person was also a white person who gave a very beautiful account about Julius Malema, how good he is, but how he can get bullied sometimes, and that he's a very good community leader and shouldn't go to jail. But don't forget that Julius Malema's offense was a very serious one. In fact, technically, they carry a penalty of up to 15 years in prison. And that is if the judge gives him more than 12 months behind bars, he will legally be kicked out of the parliament. So that is how the whole thing is playing out. His offense can put him up to 15 years behind bars. But if Malema gets more than 12 months, just 12 months behind bars, which is exactly 1 year, he will be kicked out of parliament and he will have to, relinquish his seat in parliament. So it's a very tricky situation that they are trying to, combine everything and make a very solid argument. So after all the argument and the testimony about Julius Malema, which took entirely the whole day, the final decision was that the case was postponed. So he's still free until the court considers all the facts. But the bottom line is that he was found guilty, but the court is still deciding whether he will pay a fine or he will go to prison or he will even get a warning. Now, after the whole scenario, Julius Malema once again gave another explosive speech, once again attacking the Afri Forum and the white who are trying to force and put him behind bars.
The tendency of Afri Forum will make sure that you don't enjoy the peace we enjoy. Fighters, I want to thank all of you for your discipline. I want to thank your leaders for your discipline. When you live here, you repeat exactly what you did when you were coming here. We are coming back on the 15th and 16th of April because today we were having our own witness she took the whole day. And by the way, it was a white woman, an African, who was invited by the EFF to come and talk about how beautiful is Julius Malema. So when you say we hate white people, Julius Malema was being described by a white African woman in court. Ario is so sweet. Hey. But what's the problem? He's a bull. He says, It's not a bull. If he doesn't agree, he comes across as being very pushy and you can misunderstand him. But otherwise, he's very good. Abu Dalema Huor was a show ke fa batho ba o sokola ba 700 every day ka 3 o'clock ke ba fa dijo. It's more than a year now. This racist so why do you tell me about that? How does that have to do with anything? Because as a tokolo o legendary ya utsiwa le mabala mo fa di khomu tsa utsiwa tsa utswetswa black people. That's why we'll never understand the importance. If they can arrest a president of a country without following the law of the world, who are we? We are ready for them. We must never ever be shaken by a court that is informed by hatred, that is informed by politics of AfriForum. AfriForum is nothing. They must pray that the EFF must never be a government in South Africa, because the day the EFF becomes a government in South Africa, we are going to lock up all AfriForum members because they are terrorists, because they are anti-South Africa. They undermine our country and its freedom and its constitution. That's why they established Orania. When the constitution says we must come together, they continue to want to stay alone in isolation of black people. We are not the ANC. We are not scared of AfriForum. Fighters, the law of this country will prevail against racism. No racism can prevail over the law. Any ruling that is unjust, any ruling.
Now, what is your observation of the entire drama about, the EFF occupying the courts and the noise and the hula baloo and the court, the Moshabi tribe? What is your take? What is your takeaway of the whole story? Leave your comment in the comment section. It's a wrap for today.